All right, folks. Now, we don't do this too often. We're a sports pod, but with sports comes sports entertainment. And although our one and only Coach Frank likes to talk about wrestling, yeah, a little bit. I actually would like to talk about wrestling because I had a kind of a crazy, wacky analogy. Maybe not analogy, but like a parallel because I like doing parallels. It's my favorite thing to do. And I was trying to parallel the career of The Undertaker because I was a big Undertaker fan and I was rollerblading around. And when I'm by myself, this guy starts going crazy. And I was trying to think, and I kind of had a crazy thought that I'm interested to hear what Frank thinks. I think Ryan, a friend of the show, friend of Puck and Pod, Ryan Furnish would like this take. I kind of paralleled the Undertaker career to the career of Tom Brady. Now hold on for 1 second. It's going to be a little wacky. It's going to be a little out there. But the first thing is obvious. Tom Brady is the GOAT, and we can consider or put the Undertaker into that GOAT category. He may not be the GOAT, but we can argue, hey, he might be a GOAT. But if you look at the career of the Undertaker versus Tom Brady came in and had instant success. Comes in, wins his 3 Super Bowls, and then kind of fades. Now, I'm not saying he was bad. I'm just saying kind of almost was really quiet. Didn't really hear from him very much. Didn't have that defense. And in your mind, you're going, we've seen the best. We've seen the best of Tom Brady. This is it. And then around 2012, 2013, all of a sudden, Patriots kind of start coming back. They win the Super Bowl in 2014, in 2016. No. 2015 they win, 2017, 2018. Or they lose in 2016. Anyway, he ends up having this like little lull, and then all of a sudden, bang. He hits us with another 10 years of greatness to the point where in 2009, 2010, we were probably like, oh, we've seen the best of Tom. He's had an injury, he had an ACL, he had a blown knee. We've seen the best of him. And then all of a sudden he puts together a career towards the end that's almost even better than his beginning. And it kind of reminded me of like the Deadman, where it was like, man, Deadman came in, was the title holder within 2 years, and he had an absolutely blazing run. I would argue that like 92 to 96 Undertaker was untouched, 96, maybe even 97, 98. And then all of a sudden he kind of goes to the ministry stuff. And then he goes to the Deadman stuff, where he's still good, but he's kind of laying low, and you're like, we've seen the best. And then he comes back in the original gimmick, maybe not looking the same. And then he gives us like another 12 to 15, maybe even longer years where you're like, man, this guy's having some of his best matches. He was almost carrying the SmackDown brand. It's like whenever they needed a big match, whenever they needed a guy pushed, it was him. He was involved in so many big matches that it was like, in 2002, if you had told me, hey, like we haven't even seen the best of this guy, I would have been like, you're crazy. You're nuts. Like we've seen the best. And then it's like at the end, it's like the second half of his career might have even been better. And it almost paralleled the Tom Brady career. Great, good, great, or even great, good, even better. And the Undertaker was the same, where it was like great, good, even better. It's a little wacky, it's a little wild, but I think it's got a little bit of parallels to it. Frankie, what do you think?
I don't know where to start on that one. There's a lot to dissect there, Bobby. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think this really comes down to who you, as an individual, has as their GOAT, because it's a little harder in wrestling to make that comparison than it is in football, because Tom Brady is the best because of championships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's won championships in a team sport. Now you're talking individual sport, if you're not a tag team, winning championships, and you can make that comparison to Ric Flair. You know what I mean? Like the longevity, 16-time world heavyweight champion. You know, what I'm trying to say is like, do you make is that the comparison? I get
Off of,
where you're
yeah.
I get what you're saying about Undertaker, and it's fair. You made some interesting points. I wouldn't agree with you on a lot of that, but I think I get where you're trying to go, but what I see with Brady is consistency. I've always found consistency, um, and I always thought he got better with age, whereas the Undertaker didn't fight as much when he got older. The
Uh-huh.
quality of his matches weren't as good with
Oh,
age.
I see. This
He
is
had
where I would disagree.
he was protected in a lot of his matches with guys who could go. So is that the comparison of Brady and B? You know what I mean?
Well, Brady's been
Whereas Brady,
last year.
so you're going to get my comparison of if you want to talk about greatness and better with age and relevancy and championships and making other people better around them. My comparison to Tom Brady off the top, and I'm not thinking about this because you caught me off guard with this, but if I have to think a comparison to Tom Brady right now in wrestling, really only one name kind of comes to mind, and that's Randy Orton. You know,
Oh,
Randy Orton is at the prime of his career. He's better now than he ever was, but he's also he's capable. He's still winning championships. He's still relevant. He's making people better around him in his matches, and he's still got some years to go in his prime. Uh, there's Rob. You can make the comparison with Cena, but he's not really there anymore. Well, I know actually a lot of people have said Cena is the kind of the Tom Brady of the WWE, but that's kind of where I'm going with that. Is I see Randy Orton as that figurehead, as that main comparison. But yeah,
oh,
that's just a lot to really dissect. And to be
I
honest,
I thought
I
the
had I had no idea you were going this route. To be
Well,
honest
that's
with you.
why I tried to sell you on it. I just saw like a real career parallels where it was like I said, great, good, great, and it was kind of the same. And what really partly put me onto this was I was thinking about like the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man and some of those guys where it was like they popped and then that was kind of it, where they never had that secondary run. Where Tom popped and then he kind of was quiet. He still had great years. I mean, the '07 Patriots, the '11 Patriots, but then the last 10 years of his career has been even better. Man, I think Deadman had some great matches from 2004 to 2010. I thought they were great
Yes,
matches. Like
but who was he fighting with that
I
made those matches good? Is my question.
I
The
thought he
guy
had
couldn't go
oh
as he used to.
I don't know about that. I thought he like the Shawn Michaels matches, the two WrestleMania ones are
You're
maybe
just talking about the best worker of all time, is Shawn
yeah.
Michaels.
He
You're
had some
telling me
matches. Hold on, he had some
correct.
matches.
But
He had
Shawn
some
Michaels
matches.
made that match against Undertaker. He did all the work
He
for
did.
the Undertaker,
He
is what
was
I'm
he was
saying.
great, and I almost used him in this comparison, but he was injured, so that's why I didn't want to do it because he
Yeah.
had a great secondary run.
Yeah.
But a lot of wrestlers don't get this where they kind of fade because usually when you fade, the star is gone. But I would argue he had great matches against JBL. He had great matches against Eddie. He had a like I would say for a time period because Raw has basically been the Raw has been the carrier of the WWE for a long time. There was a time there where SmackDown I thought was carrying. They had the better product.
It is now. It is now. Heads and tails right now. SmackDown is the A show, and it's actually a good show. Whereas Raw is. Remember those days where like, no, I guess I can't do anything. Raw's on. I can't miss it.
Yeah.
The Stone Cold, like you couldn't miss it. Now I could. Even if I tried to miss it, it's like
Yeah.
it's like it's just not. You watch the YouTube if you can of the 5 minute highlights, and that's pretty much all you need. It's a very painful
Yeah.
thing to watch.
I got to
And
be
I
honest
know
with you.
Rob and Ryan would probably agree with me.
Now I couldn't tell you. It's been a while since I've watched wrestling, but I thought that it's going to be an interesting debate. And anybody who's watched this, like let us know if you think I'm right, B, if you think Frank's right. I don't know why I got a 2 up here. Or 3, who would be your comparison of Tom Brady? Who is the Tom Brady of wrestling? And the Ric Flair one, I mean, by championships, yeah, but I'm not like Rick was great, and then he kind of never we saw the best of Rick. You saw the best of Rick in the 70s and 80s. I would argue you saw the best of Taker and even Shawn. Let's throw Shawn in there. You saw the best of them in the 2000s. So thought it was an interesting parallel. Apparently, Frank thinks I'm wrong. I think I'm right. So let us know what you think. Like, subscribe. Let us know what you think.